object. If you're on the Mafia team, your team wins if you eliminate enough civilians so there are as many surviving Mafia as surviving civilians. So if there are only 2 Mafia characters still alive, you'd need to eliminate enough civilians so that there are only 2 civilians remaining, and then you win. If you're on the civilian team, your object is to unmask all of the Mafia before too many of the civilians are killed. Overview. One player will act as a neutral moderator, also known as the judge. The rest of the setup is determined by how many players you have. The judge shuffles the cards and hands them out, 1 to each player. The players then look at their cards, making sure that they and only they know which card they have. The identity on that card is now their role until the game ends. Games consist of rounds, and each round has 2 phases, a night phase and a day phase. The judge tells the group to go to sleep, and every player except for the judge must close their eyes. During the night phase, either play music or ask the players to hum, snap their fingers, or slap their legs. This is a must to mask the sounds of other players doing their nightly duties. The moderator wakes them up by their role. The Mafia members can make an elimination during their turn. If playing with special civilian roles, the judge will wake them to do their specific duties. After all roles have been played, the judge will wake everyone and the daytime stage begins. If a player was eliminated, they're out of the game and cannot participate until the game is fully over. The remaining civilian players try to work out who among them is a Mafia member. The Mafia members bluff to avoid detection. If there's a consensus, the players can vote to lynch another player they claim to be a Mafia member. If the lynching gets a majority vote, then that player is eliminated, whether or not they were guilty. After the day phase, the game cycles back to the night phase, and the game continues until either all the Mafia have been eliminated, or if the Mafia have eliminated enough civilians so they have equal numbers of Mafia and civilians. Special roles. In most gameplay, you'll use 2 or more mafiosi, a doctor, and a detective. This game includes many more special roles. We'll get to those in a little bit, but first let's talk about the main ones. In the night phase, the first roles to go first are the Mafia. The judge then tells the Mafia members first to wake up. That means open their eyes. If your character's on the Mafia team, you'll now open your eyes and learn who your fellow Mafia members are. This is the one major difference between the Mafia and the civilians. The Mafia members will know who is on their team, while most of the civilians will never know for certain until the end of the game. So after the Mafia opens their eyes, they must now decide which player they want to eliminate. Without speaking, they must point to one of the civilians they want to eliminate. The judge takes note but says nothing. After this, the judge tells the Mafia to close their eyes and go back to sleep. Now, after the Mafia go to sleep, the doctor will wake up. The doctor wakes up and looks at everybody. Doesn't know if anybody's been killed, but the judge will then say, "Doctor, heal someone," or "Doctor, cure someone," or "Doctor, help somebody recover." And the doctor will look around at the group and point at one person they think is on the villager team. They can even pick it themselves because they know they're on the villager team. And that person will be invincible to the Mafia's elimination that night. So if the person on their left was eliminated by the Mafia and the doctor says, "I spare this person," well, that person will have recovered from their injuries that night and they won't be eliminated. Then the next morning they can say, "Hey, I was the doctor and I healed this guy. That's why there's nobody eliminated." And so then you kind of know that, well, he's the doctor, and the player next to them, he believes he's on the villager team. So after the doctors healed somebody, and they might heal somebody who wasn't eliminated by the Mafia, so it did nothing. It doesn't matter either way. Once the doctor's role is done, they go back to sleep. The judge then wakes up the detective. Now the detective looks around and is able to point at one person, and silently, you don't speak your roles at night, but point to one of the players, and the judge will give them a thumbs up if they are on the Mafia team, or a thumbs down if they're on the civilian team. And that way the detective now knows one player's identity besides their own, and they can take that information into the daytime round. So after the detective goes back to sleep, the judge will wake everybody back up, and now there'll be more information brought to the morning phase than the more basic version of this game. You'll have the doctor who tried to heal somebody, so it's possible somebody didn't die that night. You'll also have the detective who knows some secret identity. Now, the Mafia can sort of use these other roles to hide themselves. They can say, well, you can't be the investigator because I was the investigator and I saw that you are on the Mafia team, and sort of turn the table on the civilian detective. And now the detective is on the defense instead of having the secret knowledge that can help the other civilians. So there's a lot of subterfuge that can still happen in this game with these additional civilian roles. And now it's time to discuss who you think is on the Mafia team. So what you need to do to take out a member of the Mafia team is to accuse one of the players of being on the Mafia. Now you need at least one other person to agree with you for the accusation. So if there are 2 people who point at one person and say, "I think they're in the Mafia," well then that person who was accused has 30 seconds to mount a defense. Say, well, it couldn't have been me because X, Y, or Z. Well, after those 30 seconds, everybody now votes to either eliminate that person or let them live. And in Mafia, it's called lynching because it's like a lynch mob. Everybody gangs up and takes one player out. Not so much law and order as it is street justice. If that player is voted out, they're lynched. Just like the player who is eliminated in the night, they're a ghost. They can observe, but they cannot participate in the game. They can't speak about anything. They can't indicate some secret knowledge to other players. And also, if they were a villager and they were eliminated, the judge doesn't tell anybody that, oh, you made a mistake. They're just out. So you don't know if you killed the right person or the wrong person if you're a civilian. So that air of mystery will continue to hang over everyone until the judge announces that the Mafia team won or the civilian team won. If a special character has been killed, like the doctor or the investigator, the judge will not tell the other players. And in fact, during the night phase, they'll continue to call the doctor, even if the doctor's eliminated. They'll continue to call the detective, say, "Detective, wake up." That's to help the Mafia with their deception still. So even though that character's gone, everybody thinks they're still in it. It's possible that the judge doesn't do this and they just eliminate those characters, they tell everybody. The more common way to play this game is to continue to call out the roles even if they've died. This game allows for even more special characters. We have 2 informants and the old lady with the shotgun. So the informants, well, there's a good informant and a bad informant. And what that means is during the nighttime phase, the judge will wake up the Mafia first, they'll make their elimination. But then the judge will awaken the civilian informant, the good informant. And while everybody else has their eyes closed, this good informant will look around and the judge will ask the Mafia to give a thumbs up. And so that good informant now learns who the 2 Mafia or more Mafia are. That good informant will go to sleep with that knowledge. And then the moderator, the judge, will awaken the bad informant, the Mafia informant. And that informant will wake up and also see who the 2 or more Mafia are. So now you have these 2 people who know exactly who the bad guys are, but they're gonna sort of, one is gonna try to tell the civilians who they are, and the other is gonna try to deceive the civilians, and we're not gonna know as civilians who's who. Are they a good informant? Are they a bad informant? Or they can just kind of keep quiet and let things unfold, and if it looks like they need to jump in and save the Mafia if they're the bad informant, or if you're the good informant, nudge the other civilians to accuse the Mafia members and not an innocent. Now we also have the humorous character of the old lady with the shotgun. This character is wild and is a fun inclusion in my opinion. Essentially she's on the villagers' side, so she wins if the villagers win and loses if the Mafia wins. However, she's a wild card and creates a lot of chaos, which can be really fun. She cannot be killed by the Mafia. If the Mafia try to eliminate her at night, she's got a shotgun and she fires back and kills one of the Mafia members. The judge will decide which one he wants to take out of the game. The Mafia cannot kill her. That said, she can be killed because she's got a lot of guilt. So if during the detective's role, they point at the old lady with the shotgun character, well, she dies of shame because she's ashamed for shooting people with her shotgun, I guess. If you're that role and you think you know who the Mafia are, you might want to try to kill them. You might also want to try to kill the detective, to be honest, because they can actually kill you, so it might be good if you feel like you'll still win, but you can take the detective out. She can also be eliminated like anybody else during the daytime, just because a vote is a vote, and it doesn't matter who you are. If you're voted out by everybody, you're out. It does seem like the official rules want the old lady to use her gun no matter what during the nighttime phase. That's up to you. If you'd like to just move the game along, it might be good to have her take somebody out randomly every night. Or if you just want it to be more about the daytime phase and people discuss things, it might be nice to give the old lady role the option to or to not make an elimination during the nighttime. That's up to you. One reason I really love this version of Mafia is that it provides ideas for even more roles, such as the lawyer, the drag queen, the firefighter, Yakuza, and the Godfather. A nice thing about this is if you're the moderator, you get a little crime scene pad here so you can keep track of what's what and who's who, especially useful if you're playing with as many as 24 people. You're gonna need that. If you're the judge character, you're sort of like a DM, a dungeon master, you're gonna wanna bring a little bit of flavor into the game. If somebody's eliminated during the night phase, you can create a story about how they were eliminated. Put that person who likes to do that sort of thing in the role of the judge. It's gonna make your gameplay more interesting, especially if they know the other characters. They can do a callback to something embarrassing that happened to somebody, and that could be how they died. So that's it. Mafia is an incredibly good game for large groups because of the bluffing, the deception, the subterfuge. It's all there. The box says you kill your friends. It's a game where you're taking each other out, but it's in good fun. Did I get something wrong, or do you play it differently, or do you just want to say hi? Let me know in the comments. Please comment, like, and subscribe to help this channel grow. You are great. See you next time on Playing Games.